Southern California's first high-definition news. Eyewitness News at 6.
Brian Banks was a star linebacker at Long Beach Polytech.
He was 16 years old, a top athlete with NFL dreams.
But then, in the course of a single afternoon, his life changed forever. And eventually, the 17-year-old landed in Chino State Penitentiary for raping and kidnapping a female classmate.
And I just sat there, and I remember when my hands were just shaking uncontrollably and my arms were shaking uncontrollably. I was still reeling from the news that I just received. I couldn't believe it.
Even though he pled no contest, we now know that Brian was innocent.
July 8, 2002 was the day that things really just changed for me. I was actually becoming really good at football. I was 11th in the nation as a linebacker, and I had verbally committed to USC on a full scholarship. I had every intentions on going there. And so as I was making my way back to class, in the opposite direction was the girl who accused me. And we ran into each other, we gave each other a hug and, engaged in small talk, and that small talk led us to going to the 700 building. We got to this makeout spot, we kissed, we touched, we hugged, we made out, but we never had sex. But after school, as I waited for practice to start, we started noticing a heavy presence of police on our campus. And we had no clue what was going on, and I noticed to the left of me, this girl, her mother, her sister, and a number of police officers exiting the campus. And I think that was when I first realized that they may in fact be looking for me. And I remember going home, and I remember getting in my bed and laying down and going to sleep. And as I fell asleep, I remember letting this idea go, thinking that the police were just, maybe they were looking for me, but it couldn't be anything serious, nothing to worry about. And sometime later, I was awakened by a really heavy pressure that was being applied to my back as I laid on my stomach. I remember handcuffs being applied to my arms. I remember being yanked off the bed. I remember looking around the room and seeing a number of police officers in my room, my bedroom, with their guns out of the holster. And as they pulled me out of my room and began leading me down the stairway, straight across the hallway was my mother's room. And my mother was on her knees and she was screaming uncontrollably as a few officers were trying to console her and keep her calm. But just that feeling of being kidnapped from your home, of being taken from your mother's care, of being placed in handcuffs and chains. I don't know, it's hard to describe, it's hard to describe that feeling. So I was sentenced October 8th, 2003. But in order to understand my sentencing, you have to understand how I got to that point. 3 months before being sentenced, I was approached by my lawyer the day that I was supposed to select jury and go to trial, and said that she just came up with this amazing deal with the district attorney's office, and this was a deal that I had to take. And that deal was that I plead no contest to 1 count of rape, and I'd undergo what's called a 90-day observation at Chino State Prison. My lawyer promised me and guaranteed me that I would get the probational report, and that I would be home in 90 days. Being 17 years old, only given 10 minutes to make this decision, I followed the advice of my lawyer, being naive of the law myself, and I took the plea. I go to Chino State Prison for 90 days. I get interviewed by a psychologist and counselor. They recommend that I get probation. And by the time I got back to the judge and was in front of him, he gave me the higher term of 6 years anyway. I was completely angry and mad at what had happened and how the system failed me, how the system failed my family. Worst day of my life. I paroled August 29, 2007. I was 22 years old, and when I came home, I was naive into thinking that things would be better once I got home, because in a lot of ways, they were a lot worse. Once you're home and you're placed on strict custody parole and a sex offense registry list, it's a different kind of prison. It's more of a mental and psychological prison where now you can see everything, you just can't touch it, you can't be a part of it. So it was tough. It was really tough. I had a mandatory sentence of 5 years of parole. 4 years into that 5-year sentence, I was at home looking for a job online, and got bored, and so I decided to get on Facebook. And as I got on Facebook, I noticed I had a friend request. And the box drops down, and I noticed that it was the woman who had falsely accused me 9 years ago, now requesting to be my friend. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that it was her. And I was just having an out-of-body experience. But I knew what I had to do. I was gonna make contact with this page to verify that it was her. I sent a message asking, would you contact me? And sure enough, my phone rang. It was her. Eventually, she and I did meet, and our meeting, which happened over a course of 2 days, was audio and video recorded.
Did he force you to have intercourse or anything like that?
No.
Did he rape you?
No.
And during that time, she recanted and admitted that she lied about everything. May 24th, 2012, I walked into a courtroom, a convicted sex offender, and I walked out a free and factually innocent man. I remember just dropping my head to the table. It was a bittersweet moment. I was so happy and overjoyed that the weight was finally lifted off my shoulders. But then there was this other part of me that had to question why. Why did this even happen in the first place? Why me? Why did it take so long? But it was over. It was over, and I was finally free.
I have a message to any NFL executives out there. Give this guy a shot.
I feel like anything is possible.
And about a day or two later, my phone rang. It was this 310 number, and I remember answering it. And I'm like, hello? And there's this man on the other end said, hey, I'm looking for a linebacker. You know where I can find one? And I'm like, yeah, I think I know. Yeah, I think I know one, but who is this? And he's like, it's me, man, Coach Carroll. And it was crazy because, here we are 10 years later on the phone in this recruiting dance all over again. And we talked, and he congratulated me, and he asked me the words and the question that I've been hoping to hear. Would you like to come try out for the Seattle Seahawks? And eventually I got let go. I didn't make the team. I went on to try out for 5 other teams before signing with the Atlanta Falcons.
The Falcons' rookie linebacker, that's Brian Banks.
All you can control in life is how you respond to life. It's not what you go through, but how you allow it to affect you and what you choose to do as a response moving forward. I think it's important for people to see this movie for a number of reasons. What happened to me is unacceptable. It's partly my responsibility to pay it forward and to teach people about the space of wrongful convictions. We can all agree that no one deserves such cruelty in their life. We will all experience things of the unwanted, but like the quote in the movie says, it's not what you go through, but how you allow it to affect you. And so I always want to be a message of hope for people, to show them that the moment you free yourself here, you're forever free, no matter what they do to your body.